I'd like to introduce my friend, Robert Friend. Robert is a member of the Rotary Club of Madison, Connecticut in District 7980. He's a global sales, marketing, and communications professional in the nonprofit entertainment and enterprise technology industry. So pretty key positioning. He is an active leader in Rotary International and in the District 7980. He's currently serving as chair of the District Public Image Committee, and he's also the Assistant Public Image Coordinator for Zone 32. So lots of hats, and he's going to share his expertise with us this morning. And welcome, Robert.
Thank you so much, Gail Marie. It's terrific to be here. You all can hear me okay?
Yeah.
Great. And I just want to comment, I came in on the tail end of Rod's presentation and I loved the tone, and I'm going to segue off of that because I think what he was saying regarding membership was so important. And I'm going to be focusing in on, I'm going to share my screen now. So bear with me here. Hold on a second. Give me 1 second here. There we go. So you should all be seeing my cover slide. Do you all see that okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
Great, beautiful. So I'm going to talk about fundraising during and post COVID-19, but I have to start by just making a comment that in my many years of working in the entertainment industry and with nonprofits around the areas of fundraising, you can't do fundraising without marketing and strong engagement in technology. So my whole conversation today is going to be to put that front and center. And I'm sure I'm going to be covering some of the ideas that have been said previous to this conversation today. But I think they will be delivered to you in a way that is relevant to this and connects everything. So I thank you for that. As Gail Marie said, I've been in the entertainment industry and nonprofit arts industry for my entire career. And I've been a Rotarian since 2000 when I was in New London, Connecticut, and was in the New London Rotary Club, and moved to Madison in 2005 and joined that club. But I've had a wonderful, wonderful tenure here, and I became a Rotarian because I wanted to give back, but more importantly, I was connected to Rotary by my dad back in Washington, D.C., where I grew up. And so you know, Rotary is about legacy, and there's nothing about, you know, the whole idea of being connected as a young person, young child to that, the story that we engage in every day was impactful. I want to, you know, initiate with the idea that, you know, on March 15th, 20th, we were all jolted here in the United States. I don't recall exactly when Canada shut down, but when that happened, there was a domino effect around Rotary. Things happened in just fast pace around, you know, conferences and events just shutting down. And we realized that there was something going on. We were all deers in headlights for, I think, a moment. And we had to figure it out. And I know when I looked around my district, District 7980, which is the southern portion of Connecticut, from Greenwich, Connecticut, all the way to the Stoningtons, and up north, we split the state in half up north through Waterbury and Danbury. The whole district just did not know what to do. Slowly but surely, Zoom was very, very relevant in bringing us back to connect. But we still had clubs as we moved into April and even into May that could not find a pathway back because of lack of expertise and understanding of how technology is going to play a role in our lives. And one of the things that I saw as I looked around the canvas of our district is that not only did everything stop, clubs began getting scared about how they're going to deliver what they needed to deliver. because all the fundraising activities that were going to happen, all the service projects that were going to happen, all the things that were so important to their success stopped, and they didn't know how to pivot and really find their path to reconnecting with the community. And so this conversation is about that. And I know that I'm talking to a district that is well-heeled and understands this and probably went through the exact same thing we did. With that, we all found a way to fight the pandemic. We fought back. We found ways of doing it. In fact, in my district, we did something extraordinary. Our district governor, Jack Solomon, at the time, we went on a COVID initiative and we engaged in the delivery of $500,000 worth of support to our state. We had a major donor that delivered 250,000 PPEs that we were able to send out to the four corners of our district. And we just finished last week delivering 1 million masks throughout New England. That same donor delivered almost $500,000 worth of masks to our district, and we worked with 7 other districts and went on a 1 million mask challenge tour and drove 700 miles around New England, having media events at each stop from Maine to Connecticut, and it was extraordinary because that's what we do, right? We're Rotarians. We make things happen, but we still had to deal with one thing that was important in finding our ways back to the community and finding a ways to do that. And so we had to pivot, and our pivot was about it was focused on saving lives, obviously, and it was also focused on the idea that we, if we didn't do this, we would not be able to continue to go where we needed to go as a community. And so I want to kind of lay out today's intended result for you because I think it's important you understand where I'm coming from. And it's really about marketing and fundraising best practices. And the idea that we can take those best practices and leverage them to connect to our community in a way that allows us to gather new relationships that might turn into membership, but more importantly, in relationship to fundraising, how we're going to get that money in the door so that we can continue to do the good things we do. So that's my goal here today with you all. And I want to let you hear about something that I find important because it's about brand. You know, in the public image side of Rotary, we have a tremendous brand. But one of the things we've always said in our district and in Rotary clubs that I touch, not only here in my district, but also around the country is, you know, sometimes we're the best kept secret in our community. People don't know what we really are. And so I want to share this video with you. It's a brief video.
So what it means to have a brand is you've made a promise to people. They have expectations to shorthand. What should I expect the next time? And if that is distinct, you've earned something. So when we think about what brands ought to do to move forward, the most important thing is to not worry about your slogan, your spokesperson, the wrapping. It's to worry about the substance. Work that matters for people who care. Find the people who care, the smallest viable group you can live with, and figure out how to give them work that matters. What we need to understand is in every zip code, there are people of almost every psychographic perception. And what we have to do as brand marketers is say it's for you and it's not for you. Now, I didn't separate you because of who your parents were. I separated you because of what you believe and what you dream of. And if you want to switch what you dream and what you believe of, it might be for you. And so what can you do to make a bigger impact? Which is you can be sumptuous, you can be obsessed with some people and make them so happy to hear from you that they open your email, that they call you on the phone, that they wait in line to see you at the booth, that they tell their friends and tell their friends and tell their friends. That begins with someone caring enough to have the grit to say, we're going to make good stuff, not like.
So I thought I'd play that because it resonates for me. And I think the thing that's important that I get from Seth Godin, and for those of you who don't know Seth, he's a terrific blogger, and so you can Google him and read his blog every day. He talks about tribe marketing. And tribe marketing is the idea where in every community, there are distinct segments of individuals that have like thoughts and feelings. And if we can find our unique way of connecting to these unique areas or demographics of our community and psychographics of our community, we can begin to communicate with them with a message that will resonate. And when I talk about messaging, it's about matching the pitch with the prospect. That's real important because what I might say to a 25-year-old won't mean anything to someone my age, perhaps, at 65. And so you need to find the ways you talk to people that will be important, relevant, and allow them to connect to what we're doing. Again, I'm talking marketing here, but I will tell you this is all relevant when it comes to raising money. And so I want to talk to about something that to me is extremely important. And that is something I espouse, which is the Rotary journey. And I bring up the Rotary journey from my perspective because it really lays out the continuum that we as Rotarians and anyone else in our community might take to connect to our story. Because it's all about story, right? So the Rotary connection is how we connect, whether it's an existing Rotarian that is connecting to something new, or it's a prospective Rotarian, or it's somebody in the community that we're touching for the very first time. These connections are so vital. And if we can get those connections to begin addressing and connecting in a meaningful way, i.e. a relationship, where we're, again, I'll use that word relevant, and there's a synergy connected to that, that's important. And as we go through the continuum, we move into that first engagement, which is, first impressions are everything. A service project in the field, whatever it is so impactful. And then going into ways to get those individuals to repeat their engagement in new and different ways. And I always say when you get someone a second or third time, you pretty much have them for life because they're coming back on their own accord. And then you get something which we ultimately want. And you all know what this is for you. I know what it is for me, but it's that moment of commit. And I'll call this the transformation to complete Rotary commitment. And you don't have to be a Rotarian to have that. We have sponsors, we have business partners that understand what we are and what we do. And they're committed to us, and they come back every year and they give us that sponsorship dollar, or they donate that auction item. They make it a point to come to our events. Those are the people that we need to care about. And so I want to just add on to that and say that if you don't know who your community is, you're missing a huge opportunity. Have we taken the time and energy to seek out those people that we touch along the continuum of our work in the community? For instance, the parents of our students who celebrate Student of the Month or Year programs, or the parents of our Interact Club members who are heavily involved in Rotary on an active basis, or the unsung heroes and civic leaders who we celebrate once per year in our civic awards, or our club speakers who come to our meetings prior to the COVID, broke bread with us, but impart their knowledge on us on an active level. And where are they? Are they engaged in our work? How many times a year do they see or touch our service projects of our club? What motivates them? What do they like? What don't they like? In the end, it's about empathy, putting ourselves in their shoes and getting to know their ideology, understanding what drives their core beliefs and desires. And the only way we can manage change and growth is by getting into relationship and understanding the needs and desires of each prospective Rotarian, every existing Rotarian, new and old, our donors and our sponsors, our business and community partners. And if we can listen and be in relationship and connect them to the, what I'll call the power or the value, and as was recently said, the fun of our clubs, then we're opening the door to opportunity engagement that will have huge impact. So this is really, really important, community. And then I will say that it's personal. The time that a prospective Rotarian, a current Rotarian, or donors and sponsors, or the business community partners that you have spend out of their life and commit to their time with us, their money for us, and their resources for us is extensive. And they do this in support of our efforts. And they make their commitment to return to our meetings week after week sometimes and fully engage and donate. And that time and those resources is personal. And so we need to make the value, we need to raise the bar. And I know we always think of this, but the value bar needs to be really, really high. And that's important. And so, yeah, it's emotional because emotion drives engagement. It dictates how people are likely to recommend Rotary or share our story, and the end, whether they are going to engage or not. Yeah, this has a direct relationship to membership. It has a direct relationship to development, fundraising, everything that we do. So when I look at public image, I look at public image as a service to every Rotary club in my district, because everything we do around public image has an impact on membership, on service projects, on global engagement, and on fundraising. And so that's real important. So that's why I'm kind of setting the stage with this. And so really that whole idea of the transformation is just mission critical. So I want to kind of peel off of this and go into some specific fundraising principles that I think play off of this in what I'll call the Rotary journey. So fundraising principles in the Rotary journey. And some of this I've talked about, but I want to underscore it because I can't tell you how important it is. So the first one is understand your audience. We talk about doing a community assessment. If your club has not done a community assessment, then you don't really know what your community needs. And so, yeah, you can talk to the school board. You can talk to the different clubs and organizations in the community. You can talk to the Chamber of Commerce. But if you're not really embedded with the community and understand where their shortfalls are and where they need to go, really defining the personas in your community and understanding what their challenges are, then you really can't go out and make a connect with them that is valuable. The second thing is you need to be out there. Listen, we know this. We're people of action. So having and creating action service to drive engagement is important. There are clubs in my district that are check writing clubs. I don't know if any exist in your district, but I will tell you that is a great thing, but it's not who we are. Yes, we want to give money, but really what we are is about action. And so the ability to drive action and service to the table and let that be a way of telling our story, again, back to the storytelling, is really, really critical. Relationship to me is one of the top things. Rod talked about this at the tail end of his conversation, and I know that you all know this, but you're not going to raise money if you don't have a relationship. I mean, I could tell you a myriad of stories about major contributions that were made in things that I've been involved with through my career, where it didn't happen because the ask just happened. It happened because there was a deep connection. And so that is so important. Tracking every touch. What do I mean by that? Well, when you have a journey, if Robert Friend is touching Rotary for the first time, that's a touch. And I ought to be tracking what happens with Robert Friend as he moves through his continuum of engagement with Rotary, so that when we get to the point where we feel strategically, you know what, we ought to be asking Robert to become a Paul Harris Fellow and join the Paul Harris Society. We ought to be asking the corporation down the street, the bank, to have a member in our club because they've been giving to us for the past 3 years. Again, it's just understanding their relationship to your club or to your district. And segueing off of that is collecting contact data. This is something that we forget. If we don't have a database of who we talk to, I mean, it's great. So my club does Student of the Year program every year, and I run it, and I love it. I've been running it for years, and the whole club gets involved. But what the best part about it is the parents and the grandparents that come to see their kids get this, and it's just 3 kids. We do it by middle school, by elementary, by school, elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools, and the tears we see on these parents' face as their kids get totally the accolades from their teachers that are there, the superintendent who's there. I mean, it's a big deal. And then they get a big plaque that goes in perpetuity on the wall of the school, and they can come back. And we've had people, come back after 10 years who've come to these and said, "Yep, my name's on that plaque," and it's amazing. So, but do we ever ask them to join Rotary after the fact? Those are high value connections. And so we've had to train our clubs in our district to look at this in a different way. If we don't have the contact data in a database, we can't track the touch, we can't engage in the relationship, we can't drive engagement, and we don't know why. So you can see how this is all interconnected. And then at that point, once we have that information, we need to communicate and we need to invite. There's a great book out there by a friend of mine called Invitation to the Party. And it's a story about how we need to put ourselves in other people's shoes, and sometimes we need to go to them. We need to bring our community into their community. When you're talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion, that's huge. Donna Walker-Kuhn, who wrote the book, that's Kuhne, great book. It's for the arts, but it belongs in any industry. She's a dear friend, and she's a global consultant for diversity, equity, inclusion. Someone we ought to invite to Rotary to speak at some point. But she is written a book that is all about connecting with people on their terms rather than bring them onto our terms. And that's kind of breaking the walls down. But if you think about that from a marketing and standpoint, and a fundraising standpoint, it's very big. And then the last item is ask for advice and support. Now, I have made the word advice bold. A lot of people have a real tough time asking for money. Some people have a real aversion to it. I am not going to call, and you want me to call my friends and ask them for money? Oh, I don't feel comfortable with that. Totally get it. But if you ask for advice, dear Mr. Johnson, my next door neighbor, listen, I need some advice. I know you're a bigwig at Stop and Shop, the grocery store. I'm having a real challenge with our Rotary Club connecting into the community around our food drive. What ideas do you have? I will tell you that they will give you. Great story. I was raising money for a capital campaign for a historic theater that was going through a renovation. And the executive director and I was the head of development, and this is way early in my career. And we were at Chet Kitching's office. He's the bottler, one of the only independent bottlers of Coca-Cola in Connecticut, in the country actually. And so he owned Coca-Cola in southeastern Connecticut. And we went to him and he had given us $500,000. And we went to him with a big thank you. And we had a big meeting with him. And then we said, you know what, Chet, would you mind going down to the publisher of the day newspaper and tell him, he said, no, I don't want to do any, listen, I gave you the $500,000. That's it. I'm not going to do anything else. That's all I can do. No, we're not asking you to do anything. We just want to tell him why you gave. And he said, oh, well, I can do that. So he went down to the we had the meeting with the publisher, and the publisher sat there and listened. And as Chet was talking, why he said, wait a minute, said, you got more money than me. You should be given $500,000 too. I mean, we didn't know this was going to happen, but it happened. And yes, sure enough, the day newspaper gave us $500,000. Actually, they gave us $1 million. So now I'm talking, those are big pots, right? But it's all about the story of asking for advice. So it's a mindset. We don't have to always go in and ask for the dollars. Now, I'm going to be talking later in this conversation about how you can ask for the dollars and in a big way. But these are, to me, the primary principles as you move through this process. Now, let me talk about some other quick things. And that is, I think it's really important because, you know, Rotary is all about plans. When you become club president, you build your club plan. When you become the membership chair, you build a membership plan. When you become the foundation chair, you build a foundation plan. Well, we need to build what I call a fundraising plan. And that includes setting the service projects and events for the entire year, identifying who the audience is for those events. It's kind of what Seth was talking about, being very specific about who you want to bring to these events. And this means small events, could be cocktail events or small Zoom events, or large events, big service events. Then creating a communication strategy. You got to communicate, and you just can't blast. You got to match the pitch with the prospect and get very specific. And that's what's important. And then you've got tracking your fundraising goals by month. Yes, by month. Because you'll get to month 10 and realize, oh my gosh, we still need to raise money. So in any nonprofit, you ought to be knowing at each board meeting on a monthly basis whether you're ahead of goal or not. We've got to treat this like in a way like a business, because we are 501c3s, or in your case, you're in a charitable, the Canadian Charitable Revenue Organization operation, but you have responsibilities. And so that all drives to, well, how do we track our goals? How do we set our goals? So here's a series of what I think metrics that I think would be valuable. Number one, what are your projects? You got to set those up. Who will you invite? How will you engage in a relationship with them? When will you ask? How will you ask? What are your intended results from the ask? What are your actual results after the ask? How will you thank them? Really important, right? And then how and when will you re-engage? So this is a big circle because it never stops. You're always going to have projects. You're always going to be inviting people. You're always going to be in relationship with the people that engage. You're going to always be asking them in specific ways and develop what your expectations are. You're going to thank them in a huge way, and then you're going to ask them to come back again and again and again. And at some point, they're going to say, I can't get enough of this. I'm in. And they find their transformation and they become a Rotarian. Whether that's the community or, listen, we all know this. There are members in our clubs that have not yet made the transformation. New members, even old members that are there to come to club meetings to see their buddies, and they've not yet made that transformation to being a Rotarian. It's about joining Rotary and being a Rotarian. And it's all about the story. It's going on that immunization visit and getting the chills as you get tugged on to give it to my sister, as was talked about by Rod. And so those are the moments that are so important. So to kind of bring this down to a final play, I have to go into technology, right? Because technology is how we streamline and enhance the engagement of what we're doing. So from a technology standpoint, if we don't have a database to collect data and track engagement, we're missing the boat. So I imagine you use Club Runner or something along those lines. We use DACDB, but all of these platforms have databases where we can put in prospects and collect information. I'm very much involved with Salesforce and HubSpot, and there's a lot of great CRMs out there to do incredible things and are easy to use and easy to have access to and do a lot more than Club Runner and DACDB, and that's my own personal perspective. But the bottom line is, whatever you got, it can even be an Excel sheet, use it, because you can then email those people, communicate to those people. The second thing is social media. We are in a new world. When COVID hit, it changed the game. And so, yes, everything we do has to pivot now because people are now totally, they can't go out, they can't connect, and we live and die by these machines here that are amazing. They're only, what, 15 years old, 12 years old? I mean, it's just astounding, technology is changing faster than the speed of change, right? So social media and using that in a particular way is important. Email marketing is not going away. And I typically, when I send out my blast to specific Rotary segments through our DACDB, I usually get a 50% open rate, right? I don't know what you all are getting. I don't think that's very good because I think every Rotarian should open every email they get from the district or from a club. Doesn't always happen, right? But knowing that the standard open rate on email, not a bad open rate, is 15 to 20%. So 50%, I'm not talking. But email marketing is still a primary way. It has not changed in the years we've been using it. It is still a key way of communicating information and getting people engaged. The last one, which is a segue to my last segment here with you all this morning, is digital fundraising solutions. There are a lot out there. And I'm going to talk about the one that we at District 7980 have engaged with. And some of you know this because you've seen my chat on it, but I'm going to be giving you new information today about this because it's exciting what's happened. But you need to look at how you can streamline your activity and engagement in the community because COVID is blocking us from being with people. And yes, we can be in our Zoom meetings, but we are limited in the way in which we can connect creatively. And I'm on a trustee of a university here on the East Coast, and we just had a bunch of students in talking about what it's been like this first semester back after they were kicked out last semester. They're back this spring, this last spring. They're back this fall, and we got some wake-up calls that they're zoomed out, that the teachers are not being understanding of what they're going through, so they're piling on the work, and sometimes they're not being appropriate in terms of the way that they, for those that are in a hybrid situation, they're not keeping their masks on, and there are little things, but so we heard about the challenges, and so we as Rotarians have to consider the same thing because we've got to be social distance, we've got to be properly connected to our community, and we always have to be doing this right because we're being watched as a civic organization. So let me move into this digital fundraising story. And the platform that we've engaged with at 7980 is a platform called Event Groove, which is a platform that provides event ticketing, event fundraising, and also marketing product and also merchandise, so that all can be integrated together, which is wonderful. I'm going to focus only on the fundraising side with you all because that's the conversation today. And I want to just show you that we branded the site to our district. We've been able to brand it in a way that allows us to tell our story. And given that this month is World Polio Month, and we're all raising money for that, that is our theme on our homepage for this particular fundraising activity. And yes, this is a specific fundraising page that is linked off of our main district page that allows us to bring someone to donate. I want to, let's see, go into the picture of what it is you can do in this platform. So from a virtual fundraising standpoint, the ability to run raffles and sweepstakes and walkathons, marathons, half marathons, crowdfunding campaigns, auctions, and sales is all part of the DNA of any platform. Well, not any platform, but this platform. And there are lots of other platforms out there that do different things. And all I'm saying is that you need to take a hard look at this and engage. I'm going to show you in a moment what we've done. So the very first thing that we did on July, we turned this over on July 4th weekend, and on July 10th, the Braffle was the first campaign that was run, and in 10 days, they raised $40,000. In 10 days. We were all blown away. We had no idea. And we had no idea what was going to happen with this thing. But Andy Marlott, who is the guy behind this, and we have a district committee of 4 people, myself, Trish Pearson, who's a past district governor, myself, and Doug Lisk, who's our district secretary. We're the district administrators for this platform. And Andy said, I'm going to take the lead with my club, the Brantford Rotary Club, and they did the Braffle. And yep, it literally in 10 days, they were sold out. And I want to, and now with this activity, what we learned was the reason why they sold out was not just because they ran a restaurant campaign for the restaurants that were having challenges. It was on the heels of another project they did called Help Out Takeout, where they raised $40,000 from the community foundation, the community, to help out restaurants in the area. And when that kind of settled, they did the Braffle and raised another $40,000. But what they did with this and what made it a success was the fundraising with an incredible marketing campaign. So I cannot go into a fundraising conversation, as I said at the front of my talk, without letting marketing and public image being a part of this. And I want to share a video with you, this is the closing video after the whole Braffle, but this gives you a sense of what Andy did.
Braffle, braffle, braffle.
Braffle, braffle, braffle.
Braffle, braffle, braffle.
Ready?
Braffle, braffle, braffle. Braffle, braffle, braffle.
Braffle, braffle, braffle.
Ooh. Braffle, 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 braffle. Braffle, braffle, braffle.
Braffle, braffle, braffle.
Braffle. Braffle, braffle, braffle. Braffle, braffle, braffle. Braffle, braffle, braffle.
Braffle, braffle, braffle.
Braffle, braffle, braffle. Braffle, braffle, braffle.
It's so hard.
Braffle, braffle, braffle.
Braffle, braffle, braffle.
Braffle, braffle, braffle.
Braffle, braffle, braffle.
Braffle, braffle, braffle. Braffle, braffle, braffle. Braffle, braffle, braffle. But I'm growling. Braffle, braffle, braffle. Braffle, braffle, braffle. Ooh. Braffle, braffle, braffle. Braffle, braffle.
So, what's great about this story has a great ending, and that is the winner of the Braffle, which is $3,400 worth of $100 gift cards to 34 restaurants in Brantford, Connecticut. And they did this obviously to help the restaurants out. They were new to Brantford. They had just moved there a year or two earlier, and they were bikers. So they were out biking, and Andy set up lawn signs all over Brantford that had the Braffle on it, along with a QR code. So if you put your phone up to the QR code, it automatically launched the site. And they just decided to buy a ticket, and they won. And so when Andy showed up at their door with several other Rotarians to hand them the 34 $100 gift certificates and a package of other things about Rotary, they handed Andy and the Rotary Club of Brantford a $500 check. And they are now on their list to becoming Rotarians. It's just it's a story, but it tells you the interconnectedness of what's going on. And so now, what else is going on within our district? So we had a non-lobster fest. The Westport Rotary Club does a lobster fest every year, and they typically have about 1,500 participants and spend a lot of money on lobster and spend a lot of money on materials to get that to happen and net out at around $80,000, $70,000. But look at what they're doing. They did a non-lobster fest. They just pardoned 2 lobsters on the beach in Westport, Connecticut, and they've surpassed their goal inside the platform at $112,205. Again, this is all happening because they're out there promoting what they're doing, and people are sad that they can't do it, but they want to support the Rotary Club because they come every year to this lobster fest. And then to give you a full scope of everything, yes, 97 days into this, we've raised almost $250,000 with 19 campaigns, an average of $13,000 per campaign. I mean, that's pretty amazing. And what was the impact? What was the impact? The impact is, my slide's gonna, there it is. My impact is, think about it's digital, right? You have to go online to buy the tickets or give money. So we're getting data about every donor and every ticket buyer. We're increasing our public image because we're doing marketing around these programs. We're getting media engagement. I will tell you, the raffle, the braffle, the draffle, my club did the mad raffle, so everyone replicated the raffle, right? We're all getting television visibility because we're helping out restaurants. We're doing it with a cause underneath it. So the media engagement is huge. We're getting members, and we're getting our money back. We're now back in play, and we're making more money than we've ever made before. My club, typically we do two fundraisers a year, and we make about $25,000. In one event, in 30 days, we raised $40,000. I mean, it's just crazy. So these are the things that put it on the table for us and give us a framework of how we're going to move forward. Quickly, a few more quick things. It's World Polio Month. I want to take you into this polio campaign because I want to show you a fun thing about what we've done with the world's greatest meal to help end polio. So I'm going to stop my share and go into my campaign. So I'm going to reshare my screen. Bear with me. Oops. I think this is it. Yeah, this is it. Well, I hope so. Nope. Nope, wrong one. Sorry. I've got 2 that look the same. There we go. So I want to go into, so we just finished the Million Mask Challenge Tour. We're still working on it, but that's in the tail end. So we've jumped into this one right here. This one's kind of interesting. It is a campaign that is a crowdfunding campaign that every Rotary Club is inside the campaign. It's a competition. Every Rotary Club has a goal of $500. And our goal as a district is $30,000. And of course, because of the match from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, it will turn into $90,000. And so if I scroll down here, I can look at my clubs. And every club has a goal. And you can see that my club happens to be in the lead at $125. The New London is 100, Rotary and Sonia. And every club has, we just started this like 2 days ago. And so we're going to be doing this through Thanksgiving and here in the United States. And every club will give, but they all have their page. Now, what's interesting is if I go up to the top and go to my Rotary Club, Madison, I can go ahead and I can share this page with anybody I want by dropping the link inside an email or on social media. More importantly, I can click on Facebook and go right to social with the campaign inside my club or Twitter. And if I go to my club page, here's my club page. And this is now, if anybody comes to this page because they got it as an email, all they do is click donate and the money's going directly to the Madison Rotary Club's crowdfunding campaign underneath the program. So I'm not going to go deep into this, but you get the idea that you can get very, very creative with what you're doing. Now, to take this a step further, there is another district. I go back. Give me 1 second here. There is another district, which is we have now 10 districts that are actively using this this branded platform. And this district happens to be District 7230 in New York. And they're using Move for Polio. And it's an a-thon, which means you can pledge anybody in the district, and you can set up teams. So they have teams, and the teams are their clubs, and participants can decide to cycle. So there's Farzana has raised $420, Bina has done 190, et cetera, et cetera. And they're all, these are all pledges. When the campaign is over in 5 days, 10 hours, 27 minutes, and 23 seconds, all of that money will automatically be charged to the credit cards that are securely embedded underneath the campaign. And they're allowing anybody to, if I go ahead and click on make a pledge, I'll just do it and show you, because I love this, is the ability to go in and make a pledge per mile, per lap, per page for reading, also, or I can make a flat pledge. If I go ahead and do it this way, I can select my participant and go ahead and just go ahead and then do my, and he's doing it, he's walking, so I'm going to be doing per mile. Others are going to be doing swimming, so it's going to be per lap, et cetera, et cetera. So they pick their poison. But that just makes, and then you just go on and make your per mile a pledge, and you can cap the cost, and you proceed on. And I'm not going to do it, but these are the kinds of things that we're doing, and it's just wonderful. So I'm closing my chat out. We'll open up to questions. Let me go back to my crowdfunding or my screen. Here we go. I think this is where I am. And oh nope, I did it. Oh no, that was right.
Oh,
Are you all seeing my screen here? I'm going to go ahead and click next. Oop.
Yep.
Oh, I stopped my hold tight here. I'm going to reshare. Hold on a second. But I think that is the, I actually, that's the end of my conversation. I was going to go to my last slide. So why don't we leave it at that, and let's open it up to questions. I'll close with this. The journey that we made throughout this whole process, from the point we shut down as a country in the United States, and we had to figure it out, has been transformative for our district. And what I'm witnessing is a new energy, because the individuals in different clubs that are engaging, they're realizing they can do it. And you don't have to be a rocket scientist to get this done. And it's quite wonderful. And even in my club, I'm seeing new people that have never stepped up, stepping up and getting excited. I'm seeing a president of my club who because I was the assistant governor of my area before, as COVID was happening, and I transitioned out of it after 7 years on July 1. And the president that was coming in, I had to sit down with him because I was concerned about his engagement. He'd only been in Rotary for 2 years. He didn't get it. He wasn't there yet. And so with a lot of tutelage, we really got into a place when this happened, he took off like a bandit. And I'm seeing a club that has been transformed from my vantage point. So these are the kinds of things that are available to us. And we need to take advantage, where there's challenges, come new opportunities. And I'll just leave it at that. Comments, questions? Anybody?
We need Ken to unmute. Can you then share back to?
Is Ken unmuting everybody, I guess? Let's look in the chat. Oh, what were the fees used for Event Groove? I actually could have thrown a slide up there for you. The fees are no upfront costs. It's zero. No upfront training costs, zero. No upfront for the branding and the setup. No upfront for the ongoing support. Everything is zero cost. They've set this up when you make money, they make money. And they did it in a way which I found very interesting. It's zero, you can set up so that it doesn't cost you anything when you do a campaign, because you can do what is called tipping, where you pass the idea of giving back to the customer, and they can tip whatever they want, or even nothing. So that's one option. The other option is a percentage pricing, and you could either choose to absorb the percentage and not burden the donor with the fee. You can choose to pass the fee to the donor entirely, and it won't cost you anything. I call that the Ticketmaster method, because everyone knows and is used to paying a fee with transactions. And the last one is my favorite. I love sharing this. It's what I call the guilt method. Give the consumer the option to either pay or not pay, with a message that says, you know what, if you wouldn't mind covering this fee that supports our district's ability to get this at no cost, we'd appreciate it. And if you don't, we'll pay for it. And of course, they have to choose whether they want to or not. And we find that 70 to 75% of the people will pay the fee, so which means that the percentages are very low. But that's just a broad stroke overview of cost. But listen, any platform is going to have cost. I will tell you this, you got to spend money to make money. We have to make money, and we're not going to get it for free. So you just got to keep it at a reasonable rate so that everyone can benefit.
Thanks, Robert. I'm finally unmuted, and I think that everybody can unmute themselves. If there are comments or questions for Robert, please go ahead.
I just want to point out that during our ERILA last month, that the students came up with incredible ideas for fundraising and doing things electronic. They pointed out all kinds of things that we could do. And so please engage your RILA students, your Interact clubs, the Rotary clubs. They've got that technology and the know-how to do this in a virtual world that a lot of us don't. So please reach out to them.
Yeah, those Gen Z, they're pretty amazing.
David, if you can unmute yourself, you have a question?
You need to unmute.
Ken, can you unmute David?
Unmute everybody.
Everybody can unmute themselves.
There.
While we're waiting.
Okay.
Oh, David's, yep, David's there.
Yeah, it was very, very stubborn, but it's unmuted. Yeah. My question is, I'm interested in the way you gather these funds. I noticed that you have an incorporated district foundation. Just tell me how the district, through and then presumably that's what we would call a charitable foundation, so that can issue automatically charitable receipts and so forth. How does this interact with the Rotary clubs in your district when you do district fundraising in this way?
That's a fantastic question. We set it up, and this is unique to this platform, where you have a parent-child relationship. The district is the parent, and every club creates their own entity as a subdomain of the parent, which is the district. And they adopt all the branding that comes from the district. And every club cannot proceed without setting up their own Stripe account, which is a credit card processing account, so that there's no commingling of funds, and all the funds go directly to the club's bank account that they designate. So there's no commingling, and if the district does their own thing, like we're doing with World Polio Day, give a meal and raise money for polio, that's going into our district foundation. And the club's money, like the money for the Westport Rotary Club, their $112,000 for the Lobster Fest, that's all going into their bank account. We don't see it. It's there, and we can track it, but they have total control organizationally, which is the way we wanted it.
Do you see that chat?
How did you go about creating,
Sorry.
I'm sorry, how did you go about creating that? That sounds like a pretty complicated deal. How many clubs in your district?
We have 57 clubs. Right now, we have about 25 using the system. We knew that it was going to take some time to navigate the whole district into the use of this. And every few weeks that we have a new club joining. We've only been at it 3 months, right? And so that's how we've done it. And the creation of the process, my district 7980, actually I did all the branding for the first version. And what Event Group has done is they're replicating that brand for every district that engages to make it easy. You can be up and running within a week as a district. But listen, if you choose another platform, I imagine they have the same scenario. But you need to make sure that you have the ability to brand. That's real important. You don't want to go in there and have someone else's name on there. You want to have your brand on there. And what I love about this particular platform, it gives you, we are all aligned with Rotary Brand Central guidelines in terms of the color wheel and the logo process.
Robert, there's a question in the chat. PayPal and Facebook allow fundraising partnerships, and do you have any experience setting up to access the online fundraising in that way?
Yeah, I haven't personally done it. I know people that have in our district, and because we have this platform, we're not pushing that. But in the past, you just click a donate button on Facebook, and it automatically opens the coffers for money to come in. And I believe they don't take any money. I believe they give it all to you. So there's no, and I could be wrong on that, but I think they give it all because it's kind of makes sense for them because they make their money in so many other ways. And it's their way of giving back and making sure that, so I think that's my relationship. PayPal, on the other hand, is another credit card processing service like Stripe. And I'm not a fan of PayPal. I like the ones that are PCI level 1 compliant and really, really strong. I'm not saying that PayPal's not, but that's just my personal preference. PayPal's fine. I think a lot of Rotary clubs use PayPal on their sites for different things. So yeah, I don't have to stop, but this system does not use PayPal, and others I think that are pretty standard won't use PayPal. They'll use their own Stripe or other formal process.
Robert, it's Rob here. I'm just going to add that I stuck a thing on my Facebook page at my birthday, and I raised $113 by finding Rotary. I found Saskatoon Rotary Trust Inc. I don't know which Rotary Club of Saskatoon got the money, but $113 US or whatever was raised and donated to a Rotary. It seems to me there might be an opportunity for District 5550 to be putting something together that's more district related, and then we've got some targeted giving towards a polio program or something that's a district-wide fundraising initiative, rather than trying to have 50 clubs replicate things. There may be some opportunity, and that's not to take away from whichever Rotary.
No, you're absolutely right. Here's the thing about Facebook that I don't know about is when someone gives to Facebook, does the club get their name and information? Are you getting the contact data? And I will tell you from my vantage point, the value of contact data to me is just as important as the funds, because it's all about remarketing, right? And so I don't know the answer to that. So that's something to look into. I haven't checked out the details of that. But you're absolutely right, Bob. I mean, Rob, it's the ability to open up that door from a district level. We found in our district, clubs are becoming really astute at the product, and now they're surprising me. So you got to begin playing with it and let people find their path and owning it, because that's where it's fun. I own it, but when I see what's going on in Westport, my district governor, when I was president of my club, is the past district foundation chair, and he's running the ship down there. I didn't talk to him. He did that on his own. He figured it out. people in your district know how to figure this stuff out, because it's not rocket science, and it allows the other side of the brain to get moving.
I can tell you, Rob and Robert, that our district leadership is certainly looking into this, and we won't be dropping the ball on it. That was one reason why we invited Robert Friend to this workshop. So I know that there is interest out there from our clubs and all of our members, and we certainly will be going back and looking at it. So Robert Friend, are there any other questions or comments?
Yeah, Colin Taylor has his hand up.
Okay, thank you.
Enjoyed your presentation immensely. I'm just wondering, in view of COVID, how do you bridge from making that Rotary connection to a relationship?
Well, it's not easy, right? It's got to be digital, right? And so Zoom is a way we do it. And when you invite someone into your club and someone's new, I think you have to treat it a different way. They're not there to watch anymore. You engage them in a dialogue and let them sit out center and talk about themselves and tell a story, and ask them a few pointed questions like, why are you here? How have you been in town? And tell their story. And usually there's someone that's invited them that knows them and they introduce them, and give that platform to them immediately and let them talk about what they're doing, and allow other people to reach out to them afterwards. And there can be one-on-one that flow from that. I think you just have to be creative. And keep inviting them back, making sure they're on your email train. Every club ought to have a monthly communication or at least a monthly communication that goes out to prospective people, so that there's a consistent beat of information that's touching the community that has touched you. And then come up with more creative ideas. Invite them to your cocktail hours on Zoom. Invite them to these things. I got to tell you, think about this. Having a non-Rotarian come to this, or have something similar to this for non-Rotarians about service, and make it a public service dialogue, make it a town community assessment dialogue. Oh man. And then they start talking, getting excited. All of a sudden they're in. You got to think outside the box. You got to start thinking, what can we do that we're not doing that could drive a conversation? Because then it's all about conversation and connecting the tribes. Because there are going to be people that I connect to that will get along famously, but there'll be others that, man, I'm not really connected to. I don't see how I'm going to, but someone else might connect. So you got to figure that out too. I don't know if that answers your question, but that's my off the cuff.
I want to thank you so much, Robert. You've really taken us through the Rotary journey with your session today, and that's what it's all about. It's about establishing the relationships. I think it's been a common thread throughout our 3 sessions this morning: engagement, making relationships, doing needs assessments in our communities. The same way we do them for global grants, we have to do them for our local projects. We have to connect with the community and get the word out there about Rotary. So I thank all of our presenters this morning. They're telling us that we have to know our clubs, we have to know our members, and we have to know our communities. And so that's how we need to go forward to lead ourselves into action. So I think our time is up, and I have to tell you that I'm very energized by today's session. I'm looking at all of these faces on the screen, and I know that we're all about service above self, and I really appreciate your passion and your commitment for Rotary, and I appreciate that you are learning together and sharing your best ideas and your best practices, and that's the way that we can keep our district vibrant and keep Rotary sustainable, and let the communities know that we're in. Rotary is all about doing good and supporting each other. So thank you very much to all of our presenters, to the people who organized the workshop, and to all of you for attending. And we'll see you the next time. Thanks again.